Hey everybody, J. Scott Helms here. Today we're going to unravel the mystery of this support bar that I have on the back of my rack. So give me a couple minutes and I'll show you how you can add one of these to yours. So as I said, we're going to talk about my extra support bar back here. I've had a lot of questions about this. It has shown up, I just like pointing at it. It's shown up in a lot of videos I have done about the rack and some other gear, and it seems like every time it does, I get several questions. And I always say, I'm going to make a video, I'm going to show you how to make one, show you how I did this. So today we're actually going to do it. Merry Christmas. So we'll start at the very beginning. The rack obviously does not come with that back support bar, if I can figure out where it is. You have the one up top, which is your dip station pull-up bar. And then this one in the back, the small blue one here, is an add-on that I made. Now, the reason I did it was initially I wanted to attach my pulley system to it. And as I was making it, I thought about several other uses, and since I put it up, I've come up with a few more. So I'll touch on a few of those today, and then let your imagination run wild and do with it as you will. So, starting at the beginning. Obviously it doesn't come with it, and I wanted to put something back there to hang my pulley from. So what I came up with was a piece of 1-inch square tubing. Get you a good look at it there. So this is raw, just unpainted, it's a little rusty. And this is a different piece than what I have up there. It's the same thing, but the piece I had was about 1 inch longer than the rack is wide. So when I cut it to fit, I only had a little piece of it left over. So I had to get another piece before I could really shoot the video. But this is what it is. It's just square tubing. And you can pick this stuff up a lot of different places. If you have a machine shop nearby, if you have a maintenance shop where you work, chances are they will have something like this. A fabrication shop in town, you can order it online. And they make all sorts of different versions of it. This is just a small piece. It's about 20 inches long. With the piece I got, I found at a scrapyard, and it was, like I said, just about 1 inch longer than my rack is wide. And when I first got it, I actually bought it for a whole different purpose, but I had it out in my workshop. And when I decided to do this, I just repurposed it. So the tubing I have up on the rack, the side walls, what you see here, are about 1/8 of an inch thick. This is a little bit thinner, but overall it's pretty much the same thing. So what I did was, I had that already, but I also went to Lowe's and purchased an eye bolt. And you can see it here. Get in a little bit more. This one's about 5 inches long on the threaded side here. It's 3/8 inches thick on the actual eye bolt. The round part is 3 inches thick, 3/8 inches thick, and you have about a 1-inch opening in the window there. So your standard D-rings that come with a lot of equipment fit right on it. So that's what it would look like. So you can see you have plenty of room in there to mount about anything. So, the tubing, you should be able to pick it up pretty cheap, just about anywhere. Again, just hit the internet and find a fabrication shop close to you, a metal supply store. There's a chain of them called the Metal Marketplace or something like that. You can pick it up there. You can ask the maintenance guys in your shop where they might get it. A welding shop would have it. You can go online and just search for 1-inch square tubing, and you want to get the heaviest stuff you can get, and it won't be that expensive. The only other couple of things you'll need this eye bolt, which I bought, or an eye bolt similar to it. I bought this at Lowe's. I think I gave about $6 for that, and the nuts and washers that are on it, $5 or $6. And then the only other thing, and I will show it to you when we get up close here, is where it is attached on both sides. I don't know if I can angle here, but where the blue bar is mounted to the frame, There's another piece of just threaded rod, which looks something like this. It runs through the bar into the frame, and it's going to have nuts and washers securing it. So for the nuts and washers and the threaded rod I put up there, another $5 or $6. So total, I think I might have about $20 in this setup. If you can't find an old piece of metal tubing, you might have $20 just in the tubing, but you might have $10, $12 in the hardware you need. So as we zoom in, I will go into that in a little more detail. The next thing is you can see that it's painted blue, and it comes real close to matching the color of the rack. That is some Krylon spray paint, and I believe the color name was Ink, I-N-K, Ink. And it's just sanded up, took the rust and grease off the piece of metal, 3 or 4 coats of primer on it, just a spray can primer. That's spray can. And then the blue paint that I put on, I think I put 6 or 8 coats on there, just because I'm going to be banging around on it, clipping stuff into that eye bolt, wrapping stuff around it. Just wanted the paint to hold up a little bit. About 2 days in it. I let the paint dry really good before I brought it in. Pre-drilled all my holes. And we'll get into that as I move closer to the rack so you can see what's going on there. Now, before I move, because I'm going to have to move the camera, we'll talk a little bit about what I have used it for and what I still use it for. As I said initially, I wanted to hang my pulleys from it. I have the Archon cable pulley system, which I have videos. Just click down below to see videos, go to my main page. I have a playlist of all those pulley videos in there. So I wanted a way where I could set up 2 pulleys, and initially I thought I was going to use it on the back more than I actually have. But the eye bolt was there just to clip things onto. But I have since used that back bar for things like my suspension trainer. I have a TRX that I put up there from time to time. I've also put resistance bands to wrap around it and use. I have a good video, at least I think it's good, on the Iron Infidel, the heavy duty resistance bands, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, your bigger, flat, thick resistance bands, not the tubes. But I have used those up there. I have also used it as a catch-all to hang things on, and I'll show you that once we get up closer too. But you can do just about anything you want with it. You could put more than one eye bolt in it. You could drill holes and move them around. For my purposes, I just have one right in the middle, and I just leave it up there all the time, even when I don't have anything attached to it. Now again, as always, I will answer any and all questions that you put in the comments down there. If I miss something or you have more questions than what I cover, I can always come back and do another short video. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to change the angle of this camera and get this good looking face off the screen. And we're going to take that camera and get in close, and I'm going to show you where I drilled holes and how I attached it to the rack. All right, so stand by. Okay, so the light up here isn't perfect, but I think you'll be able to get the gist of what's going on. So this is kind of a close-up of how it's attached to the rack, and I'll get on the side here in a second, but it lets you see the threaded rod that I have that runs through the top and the bottom, securing the blue tubing to the gray frame there. And it's the same on both sides, and we'll get in closer here in a second. And again, just the one eye bolt right in the middle for mine, right there. So if we come around to the side here, you can get a better idea of what I got going on. I don't know if I can get quite close enough for you to see it, but just open on the end there. All right, so what you can see I did as far as securing it, this narrow strut right here, this gray one, I just drilled a hole in the middle of it, in the center of it, and then a matching hole in the blue tubing up there. And I did the same thing on both sides. And I used that all thread, the threaded rod there, and passed through it. And I've got nuts and bolts, or nuts and washers, top and bottom, securing it in place. So again, we have the same thing on the other end. A little harder to see, but I can get in a little bit closer. You can see how that's attached. We'll get up top there, you can see that. Now, as far as the eye bolt goes, pretty much the same setup. Here's a look from underneath and a shot from the top. Now, obviously I have my eye bolt that's kind of spun sideways, but you can see what I got going on there. All right, and again, that color of paint, ink, is pretty close to what you find on the gym itself. The lighting isn't great, so it may look a little closer or a little farther off than it does in like daylight, in real light. All right, so I'm going to put this back on the tripod and then give you a couple of examples of what I put up here. All right, okay, so I have the camera awkwardly positioned. I'm going to move out of the way and do some pointing so you can see what I've got set up now. Right now I have a single pulley set up on the bar. So I'm going to move and do a little pointing and explain to you what's going on. Okay, so you can see we have our mystery bar there. And in the center, I don't know how to do it. I'm not a meteorologist. You have the eye bolt with the pulley hooked up on it. And I've just got a short handle. And you'll notice if you have one of these Archon systems, this is not an Archon cable. This is one that I made a shorter cable for this system. And all the way down you'll see you have I think it's a 25-pound plate hooked up at the bottom. So that's what initially I wanted this for. So now if you have this rack, you already see a problem with it, I'm sure. The problem is that you have this cross beam at the bottom, and when you use it the way it's set up, this is what happens. I'm going to stay out of the way so you can possibly see it. Your plates hit that crossbar at the bottom. Also, this is a little bit low, so you're going to be sitting on the floor or kneeling to use it, which is fine. But don't let this deter you. There's an easy $6 fix for this. A little folding stool from Harbor Freight. I mean, this thing is about 12 by 14. It's got a rubber top. All right, so having that on the floor, I'm going to move out of the way so you can see it. The plate is now sitting on top of the little stool, which prevents it from hitting the crossbar in the back. So it actually works a lot better. The thing is rated to hold like 260 pounds, I think. So it should do most everything. But you could just as easily build something yourself or find a more sturdy stool if you think that's a little too light. But let me give you an example. So it no longer hits that crossbar in the back. You're still going to be on the floor because of the height of this, or you'll have to make yourself a shorter cable where you can move this handle up higher. All right. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about that. So I'm going to move on and show you a couple of other things that I use that crossbar for. All right, so I've taken the pulley off of there. The next thing that I have used it for, which I probably use it the most for now, are resistance bands. Now I said this earlier, and these are your longer, flat, heavy-duty style resistance bands. These are from Iron Infidel. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, wrong way. All right, I have a video on these if you want to check it out. I'll put a link down below. But by using that crossbar in the back, yeah, you can see it. So you take and just loop these around there, and you can do any number of your resistance band exercises. So I'll show you a couple of things just to give you an idea, get the thoughts moving there. So you can take it, and again, you're working with the height here. It's quite a bit different than this. So you could just loop this a couple of times to make up your difference. So if you did it just one time, it leaves it pretty long, which would still let you step out and do some kind of a fly exercise. If you want to pull them down, that's a little bit long, but you can either pull up grab them up high. Try to turn sideways so you can see it. And you can do some pull downs. You can also pull these out and shorten it up by wrapping it a couple of times. Just looping it through itself. Pull the slack out and you shorten that up considerably. And you can take any one of your bars that you would normally attach and use it, or you can go cheap ass like me and just get yourself a 1/2-inch piece of PVC pipe, or a little piece of black iron pipe, a little water pipe, right? And you got yourself a handle in there just like that, and let your imagination run wild. So drop it back in, pull it down. All right, so I don't have it here. I'd have to go outside to get it, but I have also hooked up my TRX on there and done some suspension training. The problem you kind of run into is it's a little bit low, so you can do about maybe half of the exercises you would normally do, because it does need to be a little higher. But for certain things, I use it a lot for stretching and mobility, so it works fine. All right, so you can see I've still got a couple of the resistance bands hanging off of there. Now you can use it for any number of things. It's a great addition. I've had people ask if it makes the rack more stable. I can't really say. It probably does, but I don't think it's enough that you have to have it. It is bolted on. That's something else I get a lot of questions. Do I just set it up there? Absolutely not. If you're putting weight on it, bolt that thing to the frame. The only tools that you'll actually need to do it is a drill, and I would say a 1/4-inch drill bit, maybe a little bit larger, but no bigger than a half, to drill the 2 holes that you actually need. The hardware, again, can all be had at Lowe's, Home Depot, any hardware store. And if you can find that piece of tubing somewhere nearby, buy it at a scrapyard, any of the places I mentioned earlier in the video, you can get out of this for less than 20 bucks. Just to do it for the resistance bands alone, it makes it great, because as best I can tell, Fitness Gear does not make any pegs to add for using resistance bands. This is a great addition. Of course, you can use the bottom rung as well to do curls or any other rows if you want to sit down. I'm not going to get into all that today. But for a little homemade bracket at the top, it has definitely come in handy, especially if you're going to add pulleys to it. You can, and it's something we'd get into in another video, but you can do 2 pulleys this way by mounting a pulley out front on your dip/pull-up bar, and then having that pulley in the back gives you sort of a 2 pulley system. If you can imagine the front one being higher, let's say, and the back one being lower, it gives you a 2 pulley where you can get farther away and be a little more natural, like a machine that you would use at the gym, instead of standing right on top of it and pulling down. But as always, any questions you have, put them in the comments below. We'll go over it some more. I'll talk about anything that I may have missed. Do me a favor and please click like, and please subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. I'm grateful that everyone comes here and watches and does, but by subscribing, it helps me do more videos like this. Everything you see in these videos I have purchased. It's nothing I'm getting free. There's no sponsorships. I'm just letting you know what I think of a piece of gear that I bought. And in return, all I ask for is a like and a subscribe. It really helps me out. I really, really appreciate it. Any comments you have, put them down below, and I do my best to answer everyone. And if you have something else you would like to see about this rack, or about any other additions to it, ask away. I'm happy to answer. All right. So until tomorrow, have a great evening, and I will see you again soon.